What's happening? What up, everybody? It's Classic Talk number 11, I think. I hope. Yeah, I think it's 11. Today, well, a few things I've been paying attention to first. This movie I was watching on Netflix with Issa Rae from Insecure on HBO, which I don't think I've ever seen an episode of, but I think I probably will. Maybe. Well, I'd have to get HBO first, but I don't know. We'll see. That's another story. Yeah. So Lovebirds, it's on Netflix. That was a pretty cool movie. It was with her and some other dude. I'm not sure of, but it's basically, long story short, they witness a murder, and then there's a long story from there that develops from there. But it's cute. It's funny. It's all that. You know what I mean? It's cool. I like it. Like I said, Lovebirds on Netflix. There's a conversation with Royce the 5'9" and T.I. on T.I.'s podcast, Expeditiously, which I've been paying attention to a lot lately, now that I think about it. Some good conversations on there. But Royce the 5'9" from Detroit, Michigan, Tip, Atlanta, Georgia. Two brothers in the hip-hop world, entertainment world, business people, entrepreneurs, leaders, spokesmen, I guess you can say. They had a really good conversation on Tip's podcast, Expeditiously. I would listen to that. That was really cool. What else have I been paying attention to? Oh, Mike Tyson and Tony Robbins. I know the name, not too familiar with him. I'm not familiar at all. Like, if I were to guess, honestly, I would say a football player because of his size. But yeah, Mike Tyson, champion, warrior. His story is amazing. It's Tony Robbins. I'm not sure if it's a podcast. It's a talk show maybe, because I watched another one. I watched one with Kevin Hart. So I'm not sure if it's like his podcast or a talk show or what it is. But regardless, the conversation with Mike Tyson and Tony Robbins, that was a really dope conversation. I really enjoyed that. Just Mike Tyson's story, man, like what he's gone through and what he's turned into, the man he's become over the years, and just really relatable. I mean, everyone has their own stories, everyone has their own challenges and their ups and downs, but just his story and what he's come from, like I said, in his past and what he's overcome and the adversities. Like, he has a real warrior spirit and real warrior soul, and really overcame some dark shit and really fucking fought and made it out. The other story with him and Tony Robbins, that guy, Tony Robbins, he has a good way of allowing his guests to open up. Like I said, I watched the Kevin Hart one, and then the only two I might have seen another one after that, but yeah, for sure the Kevin Hart one and the Mike Tyson one for sure. Yeah, those three things are some things I was paying attention. The Royce the 5'9" conversation with T.I. Expeditiously, Lovebirds on Netflix with Issa Rae, and Tony Robbins and Mike Tyson conversation. Those three things I would check out if you're interested. Outside of those things, today's episode, we're going to get into some credit talk. I dove into my story a little bit, and when I started taking my credit serious, and a little past history of why I took it serious, and when I started taking it serious, and some tips maybe for those who are building their credit, repairing their credit, whatever situation you may be in. It's not from an expert's view or opinion or strategy viewpoint. It's just from a normal dude who started figuring things out along the way. So I share those stories in this episode. It's I would say it's for those who just want to listen, for those who are in the process, like I said, about building their credit and repairing it and get it into a spot where they can put themselves in some better positions. So yeah, without further ado, we'll get right into that. It's Credit Talk, Classic Talk number 11. It's with me, it's with myself, it's just me, and we'll get right to it, y'all. Test, 1, 2, 3. All right, what's up, everybody? We live. All right. Today on Classic Talk, we're going to talk credit. We're going to talk credit in America. at least from my experience. The process of building your credit, repairing it. This video isn't from an expert. This video is just for me. Like I said, this video is just from my experience, but I'll share the way I kind of built or rebuilt my credit to get to where I am today. My credit isn't the best. I would say it's probably just mediocre. You know what I'm saying? Like it's nothing special, but it's in a place to get me things that I need at the moment. A little backstory on my credit. It hasn't always been the greatest, which is a part of a reason for this video. Explaining kind of what I did to get it better. I would say when I started taking it serious was a few years ago. I think maybe 2017, possibly 18, possibly. It was one of the first years I was in California, and I applied for an apartment out here and got denied, and basically was told that my credit was trash and the score was like an F or something, and something about, I think, an eviction or something. Because low key, some years back, I had an apartment downtown Detroit, and can't necessarily tell you the full details because I don't really remember, but I mean, from getting denied from this apartment, it kind of put things into perspective and kind of reminded me of how I handled things back in the day. So basically, I think when you stop paying rent, you normally are told, to leave and to, you know what I mean, whatever happens from there is whatever. But I think that I didn't leave and I was just staying there, not paying rent. And I do remember getting locked out at some point. That's a whole nother story. But this is my story and I'm sharing it because this is all part of what I'm speaking about. Long story short, had an apartment back in the day and stopped paying rent, and I guess you could say was locked out of the apartment or the place and moved on from there. But was young and dumb, didn't think of anything, didn't think of consequences. And, I didn't care about those types of things at that age and at that time. So years go by and go from Detroit to LA and apply for an apartment and get denied. And, credit's not good because that apartment is on my, rental history or whatever. And that pops up with my credit and shit. And the eviction, I think it was, pops up too. So there's like these red flags and they call me back like, nah, because I had the money and everything for the deposit and everything and was ready to go. Think I'm about to move in the next day pretty much type shit. And they're like, nah, like credit's trash. It's not good. And yeah, your record's not looking too good as far as this rental history. So at that point, I'm like, okay, I see. I see decisions in the past can come up and affect things in the present and future and stuff like that. So at that moment, I was kind of like, okay, that put things into perspective. Like, I gotta take care of this, not only one, and take this serious. So from then, it's like, where's my credit at? So, I went on Credit Karma. If you're watching this and in the process of kind of repairing yours or building your credit, I would say get a service like Credit Karma or some sort of service that tells you your credit score and what's on your record and what you owe, and the credit cards, if you have any, what your balance is, and any rental past shit that might be on your record, or things of that nature. Closed credit cards, anything like that, what your score is, where you sit at. So I went on there, went on Credit Card, and let's see where I was at, see where my score was, see it was some pretty low number. I'm like, okay, yeah, that's not what's up. So we got to work on that. But okay, I see that my apartment on there is that's a reason why my credit's low. And then what else is on there? Student loans are on there. And I'm not going to say do this, but once again, this is my story, my experience. Thankfully, after like 7 years of not paying shit, that shit kind of just goes off your record at least. I don't even know if it's called a record, but whatever you want to call it, your history or whatever, your credit history, your score and all of that. after 7 years, it goes away. So thankfully, it took some years of me not really paying attention. And thankfully, after those years, it just happened to be around the time it's kind of about to drop off. So I'm thinking in my mind, like, okay, continue not paying this, you know what I mean? And then eventually this will be off my credit score and my credit history. So that did happen. And then the score started jumping from there. So I'm like, okay, that's cool. So then eventually got, another credit card or two. I already had one. It was like a credit, care credit, which is like for, health things. You can use it for your animals, which is why I got it some years ago. We got it for a cat or a dog, or I'm not sure what it was at that time, but thankfully it had that, and the payments were on time for that, thankfully, over the years. And then I got another one years later, I would say not too long ago, got another one, another whatever, and learned about credit utilization, keeping it low. So the less you obviously using the credit card, the better that is for your score. So if you get a credit card and say it's $1,000 and you use 700, your utilization is at like, 70%. Say you use 300, that's at 30%. So they say, 30 and under is pretty good. Keep your credit cards, try to keep them under 30% of usage, usage, whatever you want to call it, usage or utilization, the amount you're using on the credit card. Keep that into play and keep that in mind if you're building your credit. Once again, this is more video of me sharing my story of how I built my credit and sharing my tips or stories that may help someone else in the process right now. This isn't from an expert. This is just for some random dude who just did it how he did it. You know what I mean? And may be able to help someone else, or you just may be listening for whatever reason. But regardless, yeah, so utilization rate, so keep that shit low. And paying that shit up, I would say don't pay the minimum. If you say you use it for whatever reason and they want, say, $30 a month or whatever for minimum, but then you got, you got your interest that plays in effect. I would say if you're going to use it, just pay that shit off if you can. Yeah, find out where you stand. Use something like Credit Karma. Use something along those lines. Find out where you stand with your scores and stuff like that, and see what's popping and see where you got to go from there. See what needs to be paid off and where your debt is and all that. But yeah, so I did that. And like I said, thankfully, my student loans and the apartment that I had previously, those jumped off my history or whatever. So my score kind of went up from there. Then got a new credit card and kind of, if I used it, kind of paid it off and keep that cycle going. But seeing the effects of just keeping that utilization low, you know what I mean? And then keeping good history, payment history, and then paying all your shit off. Score went up, and then able to get an apartment some years later. So I'm able to see the results from that. You know what I mean? So it can open doors. Like, I'm sure people can argue against credit. And I remember reading and hearing things about credit. Don't get credit cards. Don't do this. Don't do that. But it's like, it's put me in positions where I'm able to live better because of it. You know what I'm saying? I'm not saying get credit cards and max it out. I'm saying get credit cards and use that to build your credit. So you can use that to have, if you need a good credit score to get into a place or get a mortgage for a home, or to get a car, to get a credit card for emergencies or for health purposes or whatever you need it for. Like, I think it's good to be in a position to be able to do that. So that's really my story with it. I would say, if you're not taking your credit serious, or you're in the process of taking it, or have decided to take it serious, do that shit and then reap the benefits, and don't take advantage of it. Don't abuse it, but use it. Use it to your advantage, and use it to put you in positions that better and benefit you and progress you. And, so that's my tips, I guess, and my talk. That's Classik talk for this week. Just wanted to share that. Feel I'm in a position to share a little bit of knowledge at this point, and all the research and knowledge is out there. All the knowledge is out there. You just got to do the research. So it's out there. Hit Google, hit people that you know. I've talked to people that I know personally, and they've given me advice of how this shit works. And I've had family members and friends inspire me to evolve in my credit and take it more serious too, not only from my experience of seeing how it affects me in the long run, that you really need to take that shit serious, but also learning from the experience of others, you know what I mean, and hearing their wisdom too from people who have been down the same ropes, and they can tell you to avoid certain paths, and you know what I mean, you can learn from that and go a different direction, and so learn from experience and learn from others too. And yeah, that's Classik Talk this week, everybody. Appreciate y'all listening. If you are in the process of getting that shit done and building your credit and getting into a good position and better, do that shit. It's possible. I know of a story of a woman recently. She just paid off $90,000 in like 3 years or something of debt, student loans, and credit card bills and that type of stuff. And from just a regular normal person, like I feel like I am, but just made a decision and made a plan. That's another thing. Write the shit down. Write the shit down. Write the plan out. Like if you have a certain amount of money coming in and you got to pay off a certain amount of shit, like write it down what you have and how much is coming in and how much is going to go to paying off debt, and like write that shit down. That goes with anything in life, really. Like if anything you want to plan and really do, like write it down, because like there's so much in your mind. When you write it down, it kind of puts things in a perspective, and you can like add and subtract as you go, and you can eliminate some things, and some stuff is good that you keep and then use that, you know what I mean? Like, but like getting it out of your brain and onto paper, you can kind of see it, get everything out of your mind, because you can only do so much with your brain at once. So if you have all these thoughts and ideas and all this planning, and it's just in your brain, like it could be great stuff, but it's like, okay, grab that idea, write that down, grab that idea, write that down. Then you can plan it out. And if it's strategizing how to pay off debt, and like I said, if you have a job where you make X amount per week or every other week, you know how much is coming in. So that actually makes it probably easier to, you know what I mean, pay it off and do what you got to do, because you know how much is coming in, how much you can use. If it's $1 every check, you know what I mean? It could be something, a penny to a fucking dollar, $10, $20, $100, $1,000, whatever it is. Like every plan and everybody is going to be different. Every journey is different, and every path to paying their shit off is going to be different. So like people in debt or people want to build credit, that shit's possible. Like trust me, coming from someone who had a little debt hole, and but some have obviously larger holes than others. Like thankfully mine just didn't happen to be too bad, but from my bad decisions kind of worked out in my favor in the long run. Bad decisions meaning not paying off student loans, or like not paying off the apartment people that I owed or whatever from living somewhere and getting evicted or whatever. And like, because I wasn't thinking like that. I literally, in my brain at that time, knowing me, it's just like, whatever, next, like just keep moving to the next. I don't care about that. It's just money, like not thinking that it could come back to be like, hey, no, that's on your history now. Like now this person's not going to fuck with you because this is on your history, and they see that you didn't pay these people back in the day, and that your credit score is this and that. Like I wasn't thinking about credit scores and, you know what I mean, and rent, and you know what I mean, and leasing things, and needing a credit, like a higher credit score to get certain things, or to like, you know what I mean? So it's good for not only growth in life, it's good for emergencies, it's good for just, I don't know, just get your credit up. That's all this is about. Get your credit up if you haven't. If you're in the process, that's just possible. The knowledge is there. You just got to get the brain power. If you have it, you all have it. Everyone in this world has the brain power. You just got to focus, laser focus, write it down, plan it out, and execute it. Time's there. The time will be here. So just do it while you're here. Just knock it out. So that's it, y'all. I'll see y'all next week, y'all. Peace out.